To episode 14 of Elder Scrolls Uncovered. And apparently GUI decided to not come back. What happened to GUI?
Lost internet. It's trying to join the Skype call.
Ah. Well, you're currently the mumble layover, so there we go. So this is episode 14 of Elder Scrolls Uncovered. In this episode, we're going to be talking about gear and the stats that kind of go with the gear, and what kind of stats you're going to be having when you level up. But first, let's introduce everybody. So first we have Altair.
Yellow.
Next we have GUI, who doesn't have a picture yet, and apparently is not here.
I'm here.
Oh, there
I
he
need
is.
to be invited, please.
Yeah, I'll toss you an invite in a second. There's Rapid.
Hello.
And, well, that's everybody this week. So, this week, a lot of information was released, actually. We actually got quite a bit of information this week. I said week a lot. So let's start off and talk about the question of the week. Now, we all know we're all major fans of the question of the week. GUI, you're gone again. This week, the question was, what creature are you most afraid of to encounter in Tamriel? Or in real life, should that ever happen? So let's start off with the person that loves the question of the week, Rapid.
In Tamriel, what creature would be the scariest? Let's see. I'm gonna go with Zombie Dragon. I think that's gonna be the first raid boss, and so therefore the most scary. They said no
Zombie
dragons.
Dragon.
They said no dragons, but they did not say no zombie dragons. So that's what I'm going for. We know Manny Marco is like a necromancer, right? So I think he's gonna summon an undead dragon.
It's true. He is one of the best. Well, not best. I guess supposedly the best.
Is he the first? I don't know.
I don't know. He's like the god
I
of all
should talk about lore.
necromancers. Yeah, no, neither should I. I mean, I like to pretend I know what I'm talking about, but no, I just pull it on my ass. GUI, you back yet?
Trying to.
Would you like to answer the question of the week, or would you like to continue to try to figure out what is going on with your internet?
I'm going to try to continue to figure out the internet, and then I'll be able to answer.
Alright, well, you should have added your, because I don't think you'll ever figure out the internet. Anyways, Altair, what is your answer to the question of the week?
I would have to say,
Your cam froze.
mine.
Yeah, tons of technical issues today, eh?
Are we now? I didn't see the question of the week. Is this actual in-game tunes or any character ever?
It's, what creature are you most afraid of to encounter in Tamriel? So far we have Zombie Dragon.
That would be a good one. Yeah, I would definitely say that. But I personally don't like spiders, so a real giant spider would do it for me.
Yeah, a giant spider would definitely suck. Alright, let's introduce the other person that just decided to show up. Guilo.
Yeah. What would I be most afraid to run into?
Apparently you raided my father's closet, by the way.
I'm wearing your granddad's clothes, and I look incredible doing it. Just saying.
Nice.
I got this at a Goodwill for $2.
There's a reason it was $2.
It's extremely comfortable, so you can bite me. What would I be most afraid to run into? I don't know. Probably, since Rapid already said Zombie Dragon, I don't know what Altair said. I know he agreed with that, but I would probably go with some kind of a were monster.
The were monster. We'll take that.
Or a vampire. One of the two, because those always have a long-standing feud that you don't want to get in the middle of.
I'm pretty sure there was like 3 series of the movies on that.
Blade doesn't count. Or Underworld.
Nope, wasn't referring to either of those.
What are you referring to?
You know, the movie that has werewolves and vampires and someone in the middle. Series.
Star Wars. Got it.
Oh my god. Wait, there's a website. What is it called? Picard Palmface or Palmface.com. That's horrible. That's quite the crock shot you have there. This is an awesome episode, by the way. Like, this is just full of
Starting
awesome.
out a little slow.
Full of awesome.
Did you ever fix the title on the Twitch thing? I don't think you did.
No, actually, I don't think I did. So
You should probably do that, because we're not really testing features. Maybe we are.
well, I would love to, but I can't. So my answer to that question, I'm gonna have to reach back to a couple episodes ago when we were talking about mounts. The creature I would be most feared of or afraid of would have to be the mud crab in a top hat and a monocle.
The one that yells "fuck" every time you hit it.
Yep.
I would be pretty. That was also pretty scary in Skyrim. Running into that thing.
Yeah. Could you imagine just be like, just running down this like little small creek and then mud crab, monocle, and top hat? Like, come on. No. Just run.
That would ruin my immersion, though, along with the hands.
Oh god.
Oh,
No, let's not even start that. Let's not start that.
Screw you, sir.
Altair, are you there?
I'm here.
You able to turn your cam off, turn it back on, see if that fixes it? Alright, so question of the week is done. That was a very lame question of the week, as always. Another thing that they released this week was the new screenshot. Is anybody taking a look at that?
The Siege on Cyrodiil, the wallpaper?
Yeah, the Ildameri Dominion Siege on Cyrodiil. What'd you think of it?
That's pretty cool. I mean, we kind of got a good view of a siege anyway in that one video, where they were basically kind of showing off the amount of people that could be in one battle. But it's a cool picture.
Yeah, no, I agree. What did you think of it, Gooey?
I actually didn't get a chance to see it.
Oh, sad face. Go pull it up.
I'm looking for it.
What I want to mention, though, is just so Rapid knows about this. They depict a picture of the Ildameri Dominion sieging a keep in Cyrodiil. I'm pretty sure that's basically what he's going to be seeing all the time, is Ildameri Dominion sieging the keeps and taking it over, and basically, ruling Tamriel.
I don't know about that. We'll see.
That's what they showed, man. I'm telling you right now, that's what's going to happen. It's just
That's probably a Daggerfall keep. I can tell because of the green roof, and Ebonheart's just going to be taking over everything. Let you two fight it out between yourselves.
Right. I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure it was Ebonheart over there that we were just ransacking and destroying.
Guy with face, a guildie of mine has a good point. That's concept art. It's not like that in game.
Oh no, it's concept. So that's what they want in game. They
Does it
want
include
Ildameri
hands?
Dominion to just roll face.
We'll see.
Well, okay. So Gooey, what do you think of it?
I still haven't seen it.
Well, you still haven't seen it. Click the link in chat, man.
There's a link in chat.
Yeah,
There is a link in chat.
There's a link in chat. Of course, there's a link in chat. There's always a link in chat.
It wants me to sign up for the beta. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Ildameri's going to kick everybody's butts, especially Rapids. And your battle goats.
Fuck battle goats.
What if only the Ebonheart could use battle goats? How awesome would that be?
I wouldn't want to be Ebonheart then.
Man, I was just thinking that.
What if Ebonheart got goats and Ildameri got hands in first person?
Oh.
I would love that. I would really enjoy that.
I would really enjoy killing your battle goat while in first person.
Yeah, that would mean all like the immersion RP guys would get out of my Ebonheart.
Yeah, then you'd have all the 12-year-olds from Xbox
It could
Live
be
play
all-
Call of Duty.
We could be all
on your
hardcore.
Ebonheart.
Go RP with your hands in front of you.
All I have to say is, I mean, if that gets all the RPers over to Ildameri Dominion, I'm not an RPer, but some of those RPers are very dedicated. I would totally love to have some of those dedicated people over. You can have all the, 2-year-olds, 10-year-olds that are playing, and you can have all them. We'll have the dedicated people that want to play.
All right. We'll
Yes.
see. We will see.
All right, next topic is the food truck. They released the food that they're going to be serving, I suppose. If I can get someone to either pop a link or pull it up on chat or something. I want to know what you guys think of this. They released the food that they're going to be serving, which some of it sounds pretty good, but 90% of it is sauce. It's just sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, no sweet. No, there is no sweet rolls. Like they are not serving sweet rolls. Like what is this food truck? Like come on.
And you're telling me that you're thinking they'll actually keep it a decent Elder Scrolls game. They're taking sweet rolls out of the food truck. What's next?
That's it. I'm done.
All right, so there's pressed Eldari melt, which is grilled cheese.
I'm okay with grilled cheese. I'm okay with grilled cheese. Grilled cheese.
Fire petal dip, which is spicy marinara. Emperor's Garden, which is chef's pesto sauce. Tomato mammoth, which is bolognese sauce. Cork bulb crisp, which are kettle chips. Tangy nern root, which are pickles. And alocasia fruit juice, which is the fruit punch spritzer.
So
it just seems like they could have gone like an entirely different direction and been more in line with what people were expecting, I guess.
So here's my question for you: is that all dipping sauce for the single grilled cheese? And is the pickle an added, or is that something that comes on the grilled cheese?
I think it's just going to be grilled cheese, your choice of 3 sauces, the chips, the pickles, and the fruit punch. I mean, it's just one quote unquote dish.
I just think that's a lot of sauce for a single food.
I don't know. It'd probably be like, which sauce do you want it? You can dip your chips in grilled cheese in, I guess.
No,
I don't know.
Who dips their chips in pesto sauce?
America.
America. So what's your opinion on the food truck there, Altair? Because we're going to be seeing it at PAX.
Hey, it's free food. I'm not complaining. Free food is good food.
That's not a true statement. I ate free food in Thailand and spent 12 hours in the bathroom.
Okay, any food from Thailand will spend you 12 hours in the bathroom.
Not true, but okay. Their dog tastes very good.
Their what?
Nothing.
Their what?
Don't worry about it.
No. You gotta say it a little bit louder so everybody can hear it. Their what tastes really good?
Their chicken.
Chicken. Yeah, that's what we heard. Chicken.
Shrimp.
So, Altair, are you excited about the food truck and, putting sauce in your mouth?
When you put it that way, no.
Come on. Pesto sauce. It's white and creamy.
Definitely not.
What kind of pesto are you eating?
Old pesto. Room temperature pesto.
But I am definitely, in all honesty, I'm definitely excited about the food truck. And I'll definitely give just about everything on the food truck a shot. And we'll probably even record it, us trying the stuff off of it. And if we don't like it, I'll probably spit it out and throw it at Garb or something.
Well, one of the members from Shadowmare, they said if I go to PAX, I have to throw sweet rolls at all the stupid people going and asking stupid questions. So I don't know what I'm gonna do about not having sweet rolls.
Well, I have to go buy some.
You should cosplay as like a really big sweet roll. Just get like a costume.
Oh man, I'm 6'7". That's a giant ass fucking sweet roll.
I wonder how much like Skyrim cosplay we'll see. I would love to see someone cosplay as like a Whiterun guard or something like that.
One that took an arrow to the knee.
Get one of
Just
those.
walk around.
Just go get one of those Halloween costumes that has a arrow to the head, but it's just tape it to your knee. Who are you? I'm a Whiterun guard with an arrow in my knee.
I used to be a
someone does it.
cosplayer like you, but then I took an arrow to the knee.
That's a good one. What do you think, Altair? Do you think you'll cosplay?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you're gonna cosplay? Like, is this a surprise?
What?
I didn't know you were gonna cosplay. What are you dressing as?
An angry white guy.
We now have it recorded that you just said yes, you will be cosplaying.
I'm not sure yet, but I'm definitely gonna do something.
I'm gonna go in a shirt and pants. I'm gonna go as a fan of Skyrim, not Skyrim. Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, 'cause you hated Skyrim.
It's not that I hate Skyrim. I hate Skyrim.
That's blasphemy. Don't say that.
Yeah.
You'll lose fans.
Hey, I'll be honest, man. I'm not a big fan of Skyrim. I'm sorry. I'm an MMO player. I am not a single player RPGer. I'm not. I am so stoked for Elder Scrolls Online though, mainly because of the features they're putting into the MMO genre and the fact that Elder Scrolls itself, the lore behind it, it's just phenomenal. And that's why World of Warcraft, I think, kicked off so much, is because of the lore behind it. But let's jump off that topic, because we're going to either upset people or start an insane nerd rage and somehow end up back with no hands. Yeah, I'll show you later how to do first person in Elder Scrolls Online. So they released some PAX information this week. So Elder Scrolls Online is going to be playable. What are your guys' thoughts of that?
Super jelly.
Super jelly. Why?
Because I'm not going to be there. It's going to suck. I mean, people who are there are going to get, they're going to be ahead of the curve. They're going to get first-hand experience or lack thereof with Elder Scrolls Online. See what I did there?
What do you think, Gooey?
You should tell them your theory about what you're going to walk in and see with the Elder Scrolls Online and PAX. About different features that you think might be in it.
Oh, I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should say that. I mean, that was a confidential conversation me and you had.
I'm not surprised that they're going to have it playable, because that's right around the time that they're supposed to be doing beta invites. Which I remember one of the first conversations that we had when they first had the beta signups was that you wouldn't be surprised to see the invites go out right after PAX, and that fits the timeline. I mean, they said the end of the month. PAX is right near the end of the month. They'll have it that weekend, playable at PAX, and then beta invites will go out after that. I'm glad, because it means that they're moving along, and I really hope their hands there and they shock everyone.
Yeah. So you brought it up. In all honesty, I'm going to PAX, so I'm definitely going to be standing in the 20-hour line to just play ESO for 5 minutes. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if I get there and I'm going to see hands. I mean, it's just one of those features that's going to set ESO over the edge at PAX. Because, I mean, in all honesty, think about it. If somebody went to PAX and then tweeted out, "Holy shit, there's hands in first person," imagine the hype this game would get right 10 minutes afterwards.
I don't know. I doubt it. I really do.
I'm not saying it's going to be there. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if it's there. That's a huge free PR plug for them.
I think that's wishful thinking.
That's not wishful, dude. I could care less.
I think you want it to be true.
Oh man, I totally want it to be true. At least then I know when my character's going to FAP, I can see his hands.
Are you going to ask for the FAP emote to be put in? Is that one of the questions you're going to ask him if you get to talk to him?
Damn right, man. Hey, Matt Firor, what's your opinion on fapping in-game?
Don't do that. Don't make him mad. He's making a good game.
Sweet roll to the head from Altair. What else did they release at PAX about information? They said that they're going to be in a booth with Bethesda, so that makes me curious as to what's going to happen with that. ESO is not going to have their own booth. They're going to be melded in with Bethesda Studios. So I'm kind of curious if Bethesda is going to be releasing something too. If this is going to be their announcement for something.
It sucked for them to kind of steal Tesso's thunder a little bit. I mean, I know it's two different genres, but
that's why they need to have hands to steal that thunder right back.
Oh god. At least we'll be able to see them casting it.
Oh, that was kind of lame.
Yeah, it was.
I'll make a bet with you that there's no hands.
All right, what do you want to bet? What do you want to bet?
Sweet roll.
You want a real bet, or do you want a?
Well, it depends on what the stakes are. I mean, if it's I have to come over there and fap you off, then no, I'm not gonna bet.
We've been making bets on Tesso currency. We'll do
you're on a different realm, man. I can't trade with you.
We'll do
if you lose, you play Ebonheart.
50 of the highest currency in Tesso.
How? I can't trade with you.
Oh, that's right.
I just said that.
No, I mean there'll be an auction house. We can exploit the system and.
Oh, all right, okay. We'll hack the game just so we can trade.
Yeah.
Just me and you.
Or we'll think of something else. So 50, okay? 50 of the highest in currency.
We can't do currency, man. Can't do currency. You think of the bet.
No, I'll just put a Nernroot on the auction house and for 50 for 50 gold or whatever.
I honestly hope that they don't have Nernroots in the game only because every time I see it, I'm like, I got a pickle.
That's the food truck. I like bothers me, but at the same time, it's like it's just a stupid food truck.
Well, I'm surprised that two of the biggest things of Elder Scrolls is not in the food truck. There's no sweet rolls and there's no skooma. Like two of the iconic words to Elder Scrolls. Like if someone was to say skooma or sweet roll to any Elder Scrolls player, they know instantly. Like it's just
Maybe here's the theory. Maybe they want to like distance themselves from Skyrim and kind of like. 'Cause, I mean, those are like distinctly Skyrim things, right?
Yeah.
Before that, we hadn't really heard of sweet rolls, and I mean, I guess there was skooma in Oblivion. I don't know, but
well,
I guess it wasn't as big.
Pain Train Gaming says that they can't sell alcohol in the truck. I have yet to figure out exactly what skooma is. There's no official comment because the graphic keeps changing. It's a herb. It's an
liquid.
alcohol.
No, it's liquid crack cocaine.
Liquid crack cocaine.
Yeah, because it's refined from moon sugar, which is it's like crack rock,
Well, then, if it's refined
like-
from moon suger,
like cocaine.
I
It's like liquid
I
cocaine.
watched Jesse Cox's podcast with Force, and they had probably the best opinion then. You know Fun Dip? You know the sticks with the powder? You lick the stick, you dip it in?
Yeah.
That's right there, man. You'd make a fortune.
Make that moon sugar.
Make that fucking moon sugar. I'd eat that shit. I love fucking Fun Dip, man. Fun Dip's the shit. I'm not gonna deny it. Fun Dip. The same with Pop Rocks, man. Could you imagine everybody walking around with Pop Rocks in their mouth?
That would be hilarious. That would be a cool thing. But no, we're getting goddamn pickles.
Fucking
Or I guess
pickles.
y'all are.
Yeah, you ain't getting shit, man. I invited you.
We're gonna have an Elder Scrolls party where I'm at. Anybody's in Florida who wants to have a PAX Florida, just we'll come over to my house. We'll go to the beach or something.
It's gonna be nerd.
No, it's just gonna be beer and barbecue.
Are you gonna do it without your hands so that way you can immerse yourself? in
Yeah,
it?
everybody has to eat their barbecue and drink their beer with their hands tied behind their back. Get ready for Tesso.
It's quite the party. I might have to come down. When is it?
You
gotta set a date now,
I haven't
man.
announced the date.
All right, we'll do it next week.
We'll do it the Blizzard soon.
Yeah, soon. TM.
Yeah.
So next week, our final episode of Elder Scrolls Online are uncovered before PAX. We'll do it. You'll have a date for us, right?
Sure.
All right.
Maybe.
What do you mean you hope there's no sweet rolls? You're an asshole. I hate you.
No. He said sweat rolls.
Oh, ooh, sweat rolls. Okay, I agree. No sweat rolls. All right, so let's jump into our primary topic this week. It's an interesting one. I mean, it's pretty much the title of our stream this week. Stats. We don't need no stinking stats. So let's talk about stats. What do we know about stats thus far? When you level up in Elder Scrolls Online, this is one I really want to talk about. You get a point that you can put into a skill. So either magicka, health, or stamina. What do you guys think of that? Do you guys think that's very limited? Like, I know that's the Elder Scrolls way, but in MMO world, I mean, there's so many different stats they used to have. Do you think that's just having 3 stats, there's not going to be very much diversity between characters?
I mean, I think the gear choices will be shared maybe a lot more. I mean, it depends how they break it up, piece of gear could drop and it could have, a lot of magicka, a little bit of stamina, and a little bit of health. And, then a rogue character may not want that as much unless, they were going for like a spellcasting rogue. So I think it'll be interesting. If you think about it, they have so many different options of what kind of, quote unquote, like class type you can play that they really have to have a really generalized stat system, or they would introduce a system where, either one piece of gear is way too itemized for too many people, or it's not itemized, it's really specific, If there's like 50 playstyles you can do, you're going to have to create gear for every single one. This is a smart choice on that, but there can be problems with it as well.
What do you think, Guy?
I would have to agree with Rapid. It's definitely a good choice to have it be general. I think that the specifics of it, the amount of detail that you're going to have to pay attention to your talent tree, is going to make up for the lack of diversity in skill points, or not in skill points, in stats. Because if we have to, like you said, if you have to do that, then you have to do a specialization set for each playing type, and that would get too much of a headache. But we're going to already have that detail in our choices of our talent tree.
Altair, what do you think?
I think Gooey hit it on the head. With the way the skill trees are gonna be, having 3 stats, I don't think really is gonna matter. I think it's gonna be based off of. I think it's gonna matter more on how do you spec your class, how do you play that class, and things like that. I think that's what's gonna really deter good people versus bad players.
Yeah, like my biggest concern about only having 3 primary stats, Magicka, Health, and Stamina, is either, like for example, like B was here said, it's not like 1 point is for 101 HP, so if you're at 100 HP, you put 1 in the Stamina, you get 101. My issue with that is if 1 point equals, we'll say 50 health, there's, because there's, I'm trying to think of how I'm going to have this in my head. If there's only 3 primary stats, the systems between them have to vary dramatically. Otherwise, I could be a tank, put 2 points into Magicka, and there I'm a caster. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there has to be a big difference between 1 point and 10 points. But with that being said, when starting out, your character is going to be completely weak in comparison to endgame, strictly because you're not going to have very much points in Magicka if you're a caster. But then comes my question, if you're able to go from tank to caster, there's that big gap in points again, you know what I mean? So how does that work? You're going to be gimping yourself somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is going to come down to like balancing what you do. I mean, I hope there's, of course, like a stat reset, at least for the leveling stats that you put in, or else it would be kind of screwed. Like say I want a PvP as like a mage, like a long range mage. Like, what's to stop someone from putting every single point they have into Magicka being like an extreme glass cannon, and kind of like 1 or 2 shotting people? Or like, what's going to be the best makeup for a raid? Like, at what point can you get away with not putting points in health and stamina just to maximize damage? There's a lot of interesting kind of mechanics there that you kind of have to look at, I guess.
Yeah, so in chat, they're talking about they're going to have a respec system. I'm all fine with the respec system, but I mean, let's look at World of Warcraft's respec system prior to the dual spec. I'm not a big fan of the dual spec system. I'm not a big fan of being able to completely change your role that much in a split second. But in the event they have a respec system, how is that going to work? Is it going to, how do you think it's going to work? Do you think it's going to work on a cost-based system? Are you going to be able to do it on the fly? And then when you respec, do you have to have a complete set of gear, or is your gear going to auto-adjust in some form?
Well, that's the thing that's kind of interesting. Like, I mean, especially with the gear, because if they have the gear, just those 3, or I guess 5 stats. There's power, armor, then the health, stamina, and Magicka is kind of what people are guessing. And I mean, that gear's going to have to vary a lot to be useful for multiple roles. So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to go from being a tank to a caster mage, like, theoretically your entire gear set could be worthless unless there's some other mechanic on there that adjusts your gear or something like that.
What do you think, Gooey?
I forget what I was initially going to say, but where my mind is going now is that it seems like if you wanted to do that, if you wanted to be able to force all your points into one thing and then have to redo it to be effective again, it's going to be a lot more reliant on how well you play your character than just pumping the stats in. That you're not going to be able to depend on the fact that when you hit max level, you're going to have 500,000 health with 500,000 mana to go with it. You're going to have to know how to play. You're going to have to be smart about it. It's not just going to be it's not just going to be a face roll.
So that kind of makes me wonder. Elder Scrolls is always hyped up that any character can be anything. Hybrid being a big one, but with this stat system, it makes me wonder exactly how this hybrid's going to work. It sounds like it might be a hybrid's going to be gimped in DPS or healing or tanking. What do you think, Rapid?
What do you mean, like hybrid? Like,
Well, let's say you're a caster and you're also a healer. But in comparison to a full-fledged healer or full-fledged DPS, you're obviously going to do subpar damage. But
yeah,
from the way it sounds, I mean, if you only have those 3 stats, you're going to be doing significantly subpar damage.
well, yeah. I mean, it's really going to be difficult because I mean, if you take WoW as an example, like how much bitching happened with quote unquote hybrid classes. You know, there's classes that could do all 3 roles. You know, druids and paladins and whatnot. Like they had to bitch forever to get their damage on par with other classes. You know, so I mean, people aren't going to be happy if they, you know, I want to be a tank DPS. Well, you're just going to have to be crappier at tanking and crappier at DPSing. Like that's pretty much it, I guess. So it's really not going to be viable to be those classes. I'm not sure. I mean, some people may not care as much as long as they're having fun, but in like a raid setting or, you know, a dungeon setting, if you're trying to min-max, it's going to be, you're going to have to make some tough choices, I guess.
See, one of the things I think Elder Scrolls is going to do in order to have people go the hybrid spec is to have the hybrid spec be the ones with the buffs. I mean, if being hybrid, so that means your tank can be part DPS in order to get a specific buff or a specific debuff or something to help him tank. I mean, then you're going to start looking at getting gimped again. What do you think? Do you think that's something Elder Scrolls is going to do?
It's a little bit like diminishing returns, or what?
Well, you walked away as I was saying this. I was saying that because there's only 3 stats, Magicka, Health, and Stamina, 3 primary stats, what happens when it comes to hybrid characters? I mean, we'll use tank for example, tank and DPS. If you're tank, you're obviously going to stack health and strength. Now, actually, that's probably a bad example. But anyways, you're going to stack health and strength.
There's no strength.
Yeah, but being DPS, you wouldn't worry too much about health as much as you would strength in order to get that extra damage, right? So,
You mean stamina?
what? Yeah.
Why you keep saying strength? Okay.
I understand what you're saying, that you would have to gimp yourself, but if you're meant to be a hybrid, then you wouldn't be meant to be top DPS, and you wouldn't be meant to be a main tank. You'd meant to be, okay, I got to hold these few ads for a couple seconds, and then I got to go back and do what damage I can to the boss. And you're going to be more ad control than you are going to be trying to top the DPS charts or trying to hold aggro on the main guy. I mean, I don't know if I really think that would be that big of an issue with a hybrid class like that, especially if it were like a caster DPS and a healer. I mean, you're going to share the same stats anyway, both a tank and a DPS. Sure, you wouldn't hit the highest DPS, you wouldn't hit the highest or the best tanking, but you could still be good at both, I would think. You just wouldn't be the best.
Now, let's go back and talk about what we talked about last week. How about the light armor tank, like the cloth armor tank? Again, obviously, in some aspects, you're gimping yourself going cloth, but they specifically said it's a viable option as long as you stack health. But I mean, if you're going that route, you don't really have an option to hybrid.
No, because you have to stack health. There's gonna be, like, if they're doing it the way that I think they're doing it, there's gonna be a lot of stuff in this game that isn't quote unquote viable. You know? And when I say viable, I mean like min-max type stuff. You know, people can play the game however they want. But, you know, I'm forming a team of 5 people to go tackle this dungeon. What classes do I want well, I want a pure tank, I want 3 pure DPSs, and I want a pure healer, or I want a healer that can do some DPS as well because we have a good tank. Or, I mean, there's always going to be ways to look at it to where you can maximize. And I mean, these hybrid classes, like you're saying, like if they have like a third health, a third stamina, and a third magicka, like they may not be as good, even if, like Gui was saying, they may be good players, but they may not be able to do as much, I guess.
Have they said anything about whether or not weight is going to affect your character's movement speed or damage or anything?
I think they said no.
They're gonna have an inventory similar to Skyrim, so you got that big inventory list of stuff, but it's slot based, so I don't think carry weight's going to play any factor.
Yeah, I think it's like standard MMO, like think WoW type inventory, and there shouldn't be any carry weight or anything like that.
Which really
Okay.
sucks, because, I mean, Matt Firer, again, back to Dark Age Camelot, it had carry weight, but it was also slotted inventory, so I'm really hoping they do go back to carry weight. Carry weight, being encumbered, I think, is a huge thing for an MMO.
That would be one of the few things that I think would make being a cloth tank viable. If you can move faster, if you can dodge even slightly better, there are going to be some fights when you want to be able to do that. But if they aren't going to do that, then I don't know if there's really a point to do a cloth tank, just other than to say, hey, I did it.
That whole mechanic though is anti-fun. Like, are you talking about inventory? So if my inventory's full, I can't move as fast? Or are you talking about
Yeah.
like I'm in heavy armor, so I can't move as fast as some guy in light armor?
Both.
See, that would suck, because what if I'm traveling to a town? Do I fucking strip off all my gear and, freaking strip off all my gear and run to the next town and then put it back on? Like, that whole mechanic's anti-fun.
I mean, who wouldn't want to run down the road naked?
He has a
I thought
point.
you were an exhibitionist like I was.
I mean, there's some mechanics that you have to think of, like, that aren't going to be, like, conducive to, like, people having fun, I guess. And I mean,
Like
you can
games.
tell they've been looking at that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that isn't going to be in Tesso because it would basically break the game as an MMO.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm kind of with Guy with Face, and with what Gui was saying about armor playing a role in your movement. I'm a firm believer that if you're in light armor, you should definitely have more agility in combat. I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, if I'm in full studded plate armor, I obviously do not have the mobility that someone in a robe has. I mean, they're going to tumble around in the mud where I'm just going to stand there and go, fuck you, bash me all you want, I can't feel it.
Maybe have a system like in combat, the little dodge system. Maybe you're able to dodge like twice instead of once or something like that. I could see that being more balanced than some type of movement speed slow, only while in combat, or you know, or like a shorter dodge than maybe a light class or something like that.
So let's talk about. We've talked about the gear. We've talked about the stats. Let's talk about the stats on the gear. Because like I said, there's only the 3 primary stats. What do you think we're going to be seeing as to what kind of gear or stats is going to be on the gear? Are we going to have magical health and stamina bonuses, or are they going to be magical bonuses that aren't going to affect the primary stats, but affect your overall damage? Say a piece of gear that says you can do 5% more melee damage or something like that.
Go ahead, Alter. Sorry.
I think it'd be a mix of both. On the gear, you'll get, I mean, in any other traditional MMO, as you level up, you gain increases to health and your base stats and stuff like that. But also in all the gear, base stats are part of it, and they have bonus stats such as stuff to increase damage or increase crit rating or whatnot. So I think in that aspect, they'll stick with the traditional route, and it'll be a bit of both. You'll see magicka upgrades, stamina upgrades, and stuff like that. But you also see this much more added damage, or this much more chance to crit, or bleed damage, this much more damage to your bleed effects, and things of that sort.
What were you going to say, Rapid?
I lost that train of thought, but I have a new one. I mean, from all we really know right now, it's going to be health, magicka, stam. And the other two, I guess, are armor and power. And power sounds like just a whole general stat for everybody that would, increase the amount of damage you do or something like that. And then armor, might be more aimed towards tanks. But I don't know. I mean, that's 5 stats. They can flip those around a lot. And, if you're a DPS where maybe you want a lot more power, a lot more stamina than you would armor, health, and magicka. And, I mean, you can flip those 5 stats around a lot to kind of get a lot of different combinations, which would be cool. I would honestly like to see something like the Reforge type thing. Being able to take a certain amount of those stats and skew them in a certain way to kind of make the gear more accessible to more people.
Yeah. So you're saying there's going to be about 5 stats. Now, what do you think the limit on the gear is going to be? I mean, if the gear has all 5 stats on it, just random numbers, you're going to start looking at cookie cutter builds. Whereas there's going to be no customization really. I mean, if a piece of gear drops, you look at it, okay, well, anybody can use it. So where's the customization or diversity in that aspect? Whereas if they have gear that has 2 stats or 3 stats on it, you have that option of getting crap gear. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's going to have to be more stats, like people are saying, than just those 5. What really kind of grinds my gears is that we've had people like alpha test the game, and I knew in one certain case, the guy was talking about the weapons he used. Like, why don't we have more information on the stats that were on those weapons? They just like throw them on and didn't worry about it, or
I couldn't agree more.
it's like, what the hell?
Could not agree more. What do you think, Gooey?
I don't know. I mean, they haven't said a whole lot about it, so it's just a lot of speculation. I can say that I don't know. I'm torn because I like the amount of stats that WoW used to have, like back in Burning Crusade. Back when you had to know your stats, you had to be able to balance them, you had to be able to do it. Like, you had to know what was going on. But I like the simpler stats because it puts a lot more effort. It makes you put a lot more effort into your talent tree, into learning to play your character really well. I don't know. I think I'd rather see the more detailed stats with a more detailed talent tree than one being vague than the other. So
I just want gear to be impactful, I don't want it to just be like something like, oh, you got a piece of gear, like, here's a flat increase for everything. I want to be like that new piece of gear, being like, oh, hell, this thing's got twice as much power, on it or something like that. So I want them to skew those stats a bunch to have different things be better for certain classes and stuff like that. I mean, who wants to have a piece of gear drop and then be like, well, it's 25 people are up for that piece of gear? It kind of sucks.
I mean, you don't want it to be like Legend of Zelda when you open a chest and you hear the, you got a thing.
Come on,
Yeah,
that's the
I mean,
best
I
sound
don't know.
ever.
I don't know. I mean, there's argument too with like how the WoW system with LFR and stuff is doing it now, where it's just like don't have to worry about what boss drops because it's just all luck on what you get in your inventory.
Yeah. Lano Line said one thing that really, really makes me want Matt Farrow to do what they did in Dark Age. Resist. I really want resist in this game. If you've ever played Dark Age before, in order to properly and competitively play PvP or RVR, you had to min-max your resist to possibly every combat situation you can possibly encounter. So you had to, like, there was, what, three, six, nine total different, six total different resists you had to work on and cap out. But the way they did their gear is a way I would like to see Tesso do it. Your crafted gear was crafted gear. There was no base stats on it. It was just crafted gear. And then you would go to an alchemist to get them to put the stats that you want on it, including the resist and everything that you wanted. So it was custom gear to the way you wanted the stats. So that's a really cool system I would like to see.
I'd like that too, as long as like the materials that you would need to do like the top tier and stuff come from raiding or something like that. It just seems kind of like a cheated thing for someone to spend a bunch of time raiding and then the guy who just stays in one spot by the blacksmith for 10 hours all of a sudden has gear that's better than yours.
Yeah, I agree. But I always disagreed to raiding being the end-all be-all for best gear. I really wish they would devise a system where the raiders still got good gear, but there was other means to obtain the exact same gear, but at the same difficulty. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be able just to sit at the crafting table and be like, look at that, I can put the button and get gear. Whereas someone spends 40 hours in a raid and gets the same piece, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that devalues raiding. It's like, why should I? I mean, I know there's other reasons to raid, but, I mean, a lot of people do raid for gear. It's kind of like the reward on top of the reward, you know?
Or what if they make it so that gear isn't static like it is in WoW?
What do you mean?
A lot of older MMOs didn't have static gear where it was spit out from a raid or in PvP with the same stats every time. It was different. It
Like
was
randomized
fluid.
or something?
I mean, it was you lived and died by the random number generator, but it had a template that it went by, where it was usually more favorable for melee, but the stats would be different, or something like that.
Oh, I'm all about that. I would love a system like that.
So you're thinking like a Diablo type loot system.
Diablo, Galaxies. I don't know how Dark Age did theirs.
Oh, I mean, it was kind of similar to how it was in Anarchy Online. Like, in the early days, like, if you killed a rare spawn or something, you could drop like say like a chest or something that would have like a range anywhere from like 15 to 30 on like your casting skills or something like that. And like you were hot shit if you had like the 30, because it made it like even more rare and even more valuable, So maybe like one that was like had like 28, the 31 would be like twice as expensive just because it was like the top end of the top end.
I mean, I lost my train of thought. It's because it was here said I'm on fire.
Yeah, I just saw that.
There goes my train of thought.
I do have to agree. I mean, a loot system that would be like Diablo, where everybody got a piece of gear, but the DPS on that item would be a range. Like, I mean, I think that would be the perfect system. I mean, it's all about min-maxing. It makes the rare items rare. It makes them more valuable. I think that would be an ideal system for an MMO, and I'm surprised not many MMOs actually adapt that.
It's two things. I remember what I was going to say. One, when you have the static items like that, I feel like it's just laziness. It's just like, okay, here's a basic loot table. You're gonna get this, and instead of making different items, they jack up the loot drop chances. The other thing is, if the items aren't static, then you can't really implement something like item level or gear score, and that was something that really hurt WoW. If you get rid of that, make it so it's a lot more about players and a lot more about how rare an item is, and it's not all about, oh, well, I have Thunder Fury, the longest title in the game, and I'm better than everyone else because of it. It's not about that. It's more about playing.
All day over there chuckling. I want to know what he's thinking.
B was here, said it. Gooey's on fire tonight. I agree with him completely. It's about gear. Gear is nice. Gear is important, but gear is minuscule. Is nothing compared to how you play the game. You can have all the epics in the world, the best epics, and still be a complete shit player because you don't know how to play the game. So, I mean, it comes down to like Gooey said, pretty much. Gear's great, but skill's better.
I'm totally in line with that. I mean, I remember playing games and it would be like, oh man, I did a dungeon with this tank and the dude's badass, like I talked to him, added in my friends list, and then and you develop relationships with people over time. It's not like Dungeon Finder where it's like, well, it's our tank's pulling, it's fine. You may not be geared enough, but skill never really factors into that. You couldn't tell like a badass like tank who did a lot of awesome stuff from just like a regular Joe or a bot or something like that.
Yeah. One of the cool things about this type of loot system, with the random range number, is, say for example, we killed one of the raid bosses, but in a previous raid or a previous boss, I got a weapon that's actually higher DPS number than the one that just dropped. So I mean, just because you killed the end boss doesn't make that weapon the best if you got a lucky roll on a previous weapon. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of alleviates that tier requirement, whereas I might be tier 11, but I rolled high on my DPS, so it's actually better than the tier 12 weapon. Because there was nothing worse than a new season coming out or a new tier coming out, and you going, fuck, I'm gimped now because of it.
Yeah, Guy with Fakes makes a good point about how the RNG stuff isn't as fun. Like if you're on top of your game in a top raiding guild or something, you could just have really bad luck, raid after raid after raid of not getting that like really good statted stuff, and then some guy who's in a bad guild just got lucky because they managed to kill a boss, and all of a sudden he's got a better sword than you or something like that.
Yeah, but you have that in WoW with static items anyway.
What do you mean?
You can get unlucky, roll bad, not have your item drop, but you can go to another boss. Some guy can go to a boss, get lucky and kill him, and get, like right now in 5.2.
Wow, right?
Yeah, and WoW. Each item has 5 different levels of it. LFR, normal Thunderforged, heroic Thunderforged. You can't say that it would be that different than if you went in, rated it for a month, got the normal version of it, and then someone randomly went in with a pug group and got lucky and got the Thunderforged version, and saying, "Oh, that's not fair. This is totally different than this," and it's not. It's just random number generator. You're going to get screwed no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's static or if it's a constantly changing item. And I'd rather have it be constantly changing because that way it's not. I don't have the same item as everybody else. I want to be able to say that it adds more to immersion when your item is uniquely yours. When you have a story for how you got that item, when you remember where you got it from, then if everybody has the same item, what do you frickin' do? It's just bland.
It's a different system. I mean, I would love for those items to be able to be traded. I think that would be really cool. So even if you didn't like have access to it, you could, potentially buy it or something like that. It's interesting. I think it's kind of a step away from WoW. It may not make a lot of like the people who raid WoW now and stuff and kind of enjoy that happy, but I'd say give it a chance. I think it's interesting. I had a lot of fun with a system like that in Anarchy Online half a life ago.
Gooey, what are you doing?
I lost my Skittle in my boobs.
You lost your Skittle in your boobs?
I found it.
Alright, that's good. I really like we've been talking about this, and I'm actually really excited, and I really love this unique idea. I mean, it brings back that this character is mine. This character's fully customized to the way I want. I mean, if I wanted to go out and find, say for example, I do have the best in-slot weapon, but there's always that one that could possibly roll higher. I mean, that just makes me want to go out and get it. And that's what attracted me a lot to Diablo games. Was, yes, I can still go get the best weapon, but I can go out again and potentially get a better weapon that's just rolls better. 9 times out of 10 it fucking didn't. But either way, I mean, it kept me playing. Like, I mean, that was a big thing that kept me playing. I used to farm Diablo forever.
Yeah, I hope it's not as bad as Diablo with all the different way the stats are weighted. Because if you have that big of a range, like the further and further the game progresses, like more and more just like terrible, worthless gear appears, you know? Something that might have been good one time, all of a sudden it's worthless because it's not in, the top 1%, and then the month later it's not in the top 0.5%. So you end up getting just like tons and tons of terrible loot, and it just becomes that much harder to find a good item.
But that's the ideal. That's exactly what this system would counter, is because it's completely random. The chances of the top item being dropped more often is going to be rare, especially with a wider range, right? Like if we'll take Diablo 3 for example. One of the weapons has a range of, I believe, 900 DPS to about 1700 DPS. I mean, that's a huge range, but it's the best in slot weapon if you get a good roll. Obviously, there's weapons that are lower class but do more DPS. But I mean, you still have that need to go in and get that better weapon.
I mean, that is true, but at the same time, like, do you ever want to like raid, like a raid zone on an alt? Like, you would never be able to really do that comfortably because your sword has like 29 strength and 29 stam, just using an example. And like, what if the 30-31 dropped, you know? So you would like never really be able to enjoy having an alt because you would never really finish gearing up that character.
But that's good though. I mean, never finishing is one of the biggest things that an MMO strives for, is to never be done.
Yeah, but I think they do that well through content updates. I mean, ideally you pay these people $15 a month so they keep putting out content, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, sure that, the 1% may finish that content way before everyone else and not get a chance at it for, a month or something like that. But, the goal is that there's a constant flow of new content for people to do. And you're not having a Diablo 3 system where where the most efficient way to get gear and money in that game is to just turn the bot on and let it go because it's boring to farm the same, act over and over again to get the best gear.
Just to talk about what Zuki said. Zuki said, sorry, but raiding the same zone or act for 200 hours sounds terrible to finally get the best item. In this type of system, I don't think we're talking about having to farm it 200 times in order to get the best weapon or the best item. You would still get the best item stat-wise, but there's that chance it might roll better next time you do it. There's always that chance to get better, to get better, to get better, to get better.
It wouldn't be the best then.
Well, it would be the best for that tier. So let's say the best tiered item will drop, we'll say 200 damage is the bottom. But it's still 50 damage more than the previous tier. But it has a chance to roll up to 250.
Yeah, but
so
you're
no
never
matter
gonna
what,
have the
you
best
always
till
have
you
the
get
best
250.
weapon. You'll always have the best weapon.
The best one is the one with 250 damage on it, though.
Yes, but it'll be exceptionally rare.
Exactly, and so what the point that he's getting at is that like if you're a min-maxer and you do everything in your power to get the best of the best, like you're never going to be satisfied unless you get the best of the best.
But if you're a min-maxer, the worst thing that can happen to you is being done.
Some people like being done.
Nah, being done sucks, especially in an MMO. You get bored and then you cancel.
Yeah, but I think that content should come from their end, not from some random RNG system. I mean, look at Diablo 3 is a great example. The thing that keeps, or I guess you could say kept, that game alive was the randomness of the gear. So they didn't really have to put out those content updates,
Well, first, nothing kept D3 alive. It's a dying game.
Yeah, I know that.
D2.
Yeah, I mean D2, but wouldn't you have rather seen like every month like a new act for you to do or something like that, or like more of the story, or like more like bosses to kill?
Oh,
it just kind of gets stale. Just kind of gets stale just farming gear all the time.
Well, of course I would like to see it, and I'll agree, it does get stale farming gear, but I mean, let's look at MMOs now. How often does content come out? Every 3 to 6 months, maybe, if we're lucky? how when do people finish the content? 2 weeks to a month after it's been released. What are they doing for the rest of the time? Farming.
Or gearing out on alts or something like that.
That's still farming.
I
They're
mean,
not progressing. They're not doing anything new. They're farming.
I mean, I would like to see that system implemented, like, in some way in the game, but not on, like, the top tier rating type thing.
I disagree wholeheartedly.
To who?
I mean, to Rapid.
Oh, well, you agree with me?
We've been agreeing the entire night. Get over it.
Aw. You know, but you never say it.
Oh, you're right. You feel better now. Warm fuzzies for you.
There's still no hands in ESO.
Oh, screw you. There will be a next. Wait and see. I just I don't know. I agree that I'd rather have something to strive towards. I mean, maybe not grinding and farming for the same piece of gear over and over. If it's rolling the same thing and trying to roll higher, but maybe if you get the gear, there's a way that you can make it better and max it out to that tier. So that way you keep working for it, you keep owning it. It's still yours. It's not the same piece of gear that everyone has, though. I mean, eventually you'd get to a point where if everybody maxed it out, it would be the same, but you didn't get there the same way. You didn't get it from farming the same boss. You didn't get it from... You didn't just get it from soullessly farming it like you would in WoW. It's much more your own.
They could make this system work if there was some way you could upgrade your gear other than just the RNG. Like, pretend I get a weapon that's like say 250 is the max out of a range from 200 to 250. If there's a way I could bump it up 5 every time or something like that.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. What if they dropped an orb of power, whatever the hell they want to call it? You put it on your axe.
Gooey? Did I interrupt you?
No, I just said that.
You did.
I just said that system.
Oh. Sorry.
I don't remember what I was going to say. Go ahead, Gooey.
Orb of power is what you were saying. I didn't have anything to say besides, we're agreeing on this.
What about you, Altair, who's staring off in space and not really thinking about anything? Oh, there's Dova Kitty.
I'm playing SimCity right now, but I mean, there's not much for me to say other than I agree with what you and Gooey have been saying for this whole conversation. There's not much for me to add. Anything else I would add would just be repeating what you guys said.
Well, let's do this then. Just like the hits, Aldemir RNG more fun way of getting loot, where you have to work for it and actually be a real player. And Ebonheart can get the static drops, and where it's less fun and soullessly farming.
I'm not arguing with that system. I would love a new system as long as, because people on the top end want to see their work rewarded. The worst thing in the world would be to put in 40 hours of raiding a week, and then like all of a sudden you get this awesome item and you put in all this time, and then someone else has that stuff without putting in the work. Like that's kind of like the epitome of like getting screwed or having your accomplishment not feel as strong, I guess. So
but that's what you were just saying would happen. That's what happens with a static drop, though.
That's what happens with a static drop. I'm just saying there needs to be some system on top of the randomness to tone it down a little bit.
So here's my question for you, Rapid. I understand where you're coming from, and I agree to an extent. But when we were playing SOTOR, and we would finish the content, we would play hard mode and finish the content probably a week and a half after it was released. The most common thing we would have happen to us is we would schedule the raid, and some people wouldn't show up because they already got everything they need. They have no reason to play. Like, as a guild leader, I think this system itself, would keep people playing. It'll keep those people that want to make min-max. Even though they got the best item, there's that small chance they can get better, and that will keep them coming to my events.
It's train of thought's gone again.
All right, let's go to...
all right, I think that's like a guild problem. Like, I sound like a dick, but like there's ways to keep people who are like, just like, oh, I'm full geared, I don't want to go to a raid. Well, then your attendance is going to take a hit, and you're not going to get priority or something for, the next content that comes out. I mean, that's kind of just like selfishness whenever you get geared out and don't come for people. And I would hope that anybody in a raiding guild is there for raiding, for that teamwork and the element of beating the boss, rather than just like, let me get my gear and get out of here.
But you can only beat the boss so many times. I mean, it's like doing dailies in World of Warcraft. You can do the dailies for a week before you go, fuck, I don't want to log in and do fucking dailies again.
Well, that's the job of the developer. You have to have different tiers of difficulty on it. You have to have stuff that's actually really hard that people aren't going to clear in a week, and it's not going to be boring. And then you need to have rewards for those, so you don't just do nightmare mode or whatever and get the same gear. So there needs to be a whole nother gear level. I mean, we could talk about the problems that SWTOR had all day, but
oh God, it'd take more than a day.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know. It's just yeah, I think people not showing up to raid is kind of, that's like a guild thing.
I agree and I don't agree. I mean, it's more of an elitist thing. When we were playing SWTOR, we were number one for the longest time, and we became the elitists. I mean, it was kind of bad for us because we pride ourselves on being a community of people and not players. And I think SWTOR showed us how to not do it. But because of SWTOR, I think we became closer. And certain people left because we lost that attitude. And I mean, that attitude works for certain people, certain guilds. I mean, elitist jerks is definitely a big one. The high-end min-maxers is the ones I was talking about. They're the ones that are in it for themselves. And I know a lot of people who play, for example, World of Warcraft for digital items. That's the only reason they play. Should they not get the digital item? There's times I would get tells and stories and pages upon pages of people yelling at me.
Well, if you want an opinion from someone who is on that top end and want to see what his rating motivations are, you can ask Zuki's. He's in Exodus right now, which is like I don't know their rankings, but probably like the US second guild or something like that for a while. He can tell you. But I mean, his motivation isn't gear. Like, I know that. The people at the extreme top do it for the world rankings, right? They want to be the best. Like Gui was saying, you want to be the most skilled person at your class. It's not all about gear. Like, you want to be, number one. Like, I think that's a lot of their motivations for rating.
Well, I mean, that is definitely, when it comes to a top-end elite rating, there's different groups of people. You have people who do it for the rankings and to be number one, and those people are separated into two separate groups. You have your people who are your elitists and do all that, but they're nice about it, and then you have the ones who are complete assholes about it and go around acting like their shit don't stink, and if you don't perform to this, and this, you're a terrible player, you should go jump off a bridge and quit. Those are those types of people personally I think are idiots, but I mean, when it comes to that, you can't generalize elitists into one group. You can't generalize casual players into one group, because you have casual players who are probably some of the best players in the world, but because of real life circumstances, they don't have that time to sit there and play the game all day long and become that top of the line elitist like some other people do, and vice versa. So really trying to generalize, I don't think really goes well. I've met casual players who are straight assholes, and I've met elitists who are some of the nicest people in the world. When I was playing WoW, the top rogue on our server was a, believe it or not, was a male stripper, and he was the nicest guy in the world, but there were some casual players that I met that made me want to fucking jump through the screen and punch him in the mouth. So, I mean, it's a generalization that we shouldn't really consider, personally.
No, I agree. I mean, I wouldn't want to put any type of group of people in a box.
So, I'm curious. Like you said, Zuki's in Exodus. But what happens when they get the number one? I mean, once they get number 1, what do? Go for number 2?
And they get number 1. I mean, it's for them. There's not a stopping point, right? Because the current rating meta in WoW is you have to have multiple characters with best in slot gear, so you're ready for any raid encounter that comes up, so you can min max it, right? So say there's a fight that comes up and it's a cleave fight. Well, you better have an alt that does the best at that. So for them, there's always a struggle of min-maxing all your characters. They don't have alts, they have multiple mains, and they have to play them all at top tier. But I mean, that's what they want, and they give up a lot of time because that's their goal.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure they're unhappy. I'm sure they wish there was more. Zuki said, "Yeah, when they're not doing stuff, they sleep." There's always a goal to it. There's always more you can do, I guess.
See, I don't see that. I don't see that there's more to do. Well, specifically in WoW. Just let's talk about WoW on this topic. Only because once you're geared, you're done. There's nothing else to do in WoW. Once you get all the gear you can get, you're done. You can roll an ult, do it all over again, I guess. But I mean, I know what those number 1 guilds do. They do like I've seen some of them do 7 nights a week. It's completely ridiculous. Definitely not for me. But I had a friend as well.
Just say it's not for you. Not that it's ridiculous, because
look at
a basketball player, how much they practice and stuff.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like, oh fuck that. That's ridiculous practicing that much, but not for them, because they're at the top of their game. And that's what it requires for them to stay at the top of their game.
Oh, no, for sure. Like, I'm not arguing that. It's just, I don't know what I was talking about. But I wasn't arguing.
Are you sleeping, Gooey?
Yeah, man, he's number 1. He sleeps there.
Well, I mean, to continue on this, I mean, getting to number 1 is always something that we enjoy. I mean, Garb, look, what did we do when we were number 1 and we were done with the operations? We did some creative stuff within the guild, tournaments, and
like me beating you,
and and things like that. We guild tournaments, and we went out and we tried farming all those shards and stuff like that. I mean, there's more than just. I mean, personally, I think it's kind of crazy to raid 7 nights a week, but if that's what a guild requires because they want to be number 1, hey, more power to you. But I mean, there's always something to do after you hit that number 1, and me personally, I'm an elitist, but I'm not. I want to be number 1, but I don't, with my crazy work schedule, I don't always have the time to sit there and be on 24/7 and all that. But also, there's like what we used to do. We'd record videos and do podcasts and our Elder Scrolls Uncovered and stuff like that. There's all types of things to do after you hit number 1 to keep you busy until the new content comes out. It just really comes down to how do you play, how does your guild play, and how does your guild get along with each other? I mean, that's what it boils down to. You want to be the number 1 guild in the world, fine, but now this isn't for everybody, but from experience, some of the top guilds in the world or on your servers, half the people hate each other. This one guild that was on our server named Oblivion. They were the top guild on the server for like 4 years in a row, but they broke apart like 4 or 5 times and reformed as different guilds throughout time, just because everybody hated each other and hated the just the way that the guild was ran. So I mean, it's each person is an individual, and yeah.
I mean, there's always stuff to do in games, whether you make an alt or your dailies or whatever it is. But I think at a certain point, companies need to realize that they need to up the amount of content they're making. They need to make more quality content that lasts longer. There's a lot of these little raid patches and stuff don't really add that much content from like an hour's perspective. And a lot of what they do add is a lot of time sinks of stuff that isn't fun. I think they should work on making content updates not all time sinks and more fun stuff where, it'd be raiding, more difficult raids, or, new PvP things to do, like world events and stuff like that. I would love world events. In Anarchy Online, every week or every couple weeks, a GM would, like, go out somewhere and spawn, like, a massive, raid boss, and you'd have 300 people trying to kill it, and you would kill it, and it would drop, like, some good gear or something like that. So, I mean, stuff like that gets the entire community involved is what I'm all about.
Guy with face, we're never on topic. We just completely rant and tangent all the time.
How much can you talk about stats? There's only 5 of them, right? So magic health, stamina, armor, power. Like
it was the RNG Inception. That's what it was.
Yeah. There's enough topics or enough stats that you can count on one hand. If you had a hand,
I was just gonna say, what do you mean, what hands? There's no hands.
Well, how many does WoW have, right? So agility, stamina, intelligence. Holy shit!
Just
strength.
go off the basics. There's strength, stamina, agility, resilience, expertise, parry, spirit, dodge,
block.
Did you say crit?
Crit,
haste.
spell power, haste.
I mean, that's a lot.
It is. It definitely is. Let's kind of
PvP
jump back
stats.
on topic off of the gear for a second, just because we have 11 minutes left. I want to talk about betas, on how Elder Scrolls is going to do the beta. Recently, a game just came out that was in beta, and it has probably had one of the worst launches ever known. However, I'm a huge fan of it. Gooey's a huge fan of it. Altair's a huge fan of it. It's a phenomenal
I'm playing
game.
it right now.
Phenomenal game.
The launch
just
was
complete
horrible.
crap for a launch. But I think the issue with that game, yes, it was definitely SimCity. The issue with that game is their beta. They did a beta, but the reason they said their launch was so bad is because people played the game longer than they expected. Well, that's because their beta was only done on specific days at specific times. If you want to stress test your servers, open them up for a week and open up to everybody. Free to play, 1 week. That will stress test your servers.
Yeah, definitely. These beta tests where you just test it for a couple hours here, a couple hours there, it doesn't get you anywhere. Like when it comes to like personally in my line of work, when it comes to testing a server or testing for any type of vulnerabilities from hacking or anything or SQL injection, it's not, you don't do it for an hour. You like me, I have to pen test our networks at least twice a month, and we have to try and flood all our networks and see how much traffic they can take before they explode. When you're stress testing a video game that's going to be completely online all the time with no option to be offline, you need to see what's the maximum capacity that it can hold. I think when the game launched, it had, what, 4 servers? 5 servers?
Which one?
SimCity. Something like that.
2 east and 2 west.
Yeah, it only had like 4 servers. I know personally the SimCity community is not huge, but it's big enough that 4 servers is not gonna do anything, especially with the graphics of the game and things like that. They should have planned it a lot better than they did. Like you said, at least a week or 2 of open play stress testing, see what the servers can take, and increase the servers as required. I mean, they should have saw their pre-order numbers and realized that their servers weren't going to be able to handle that because there was only 4 servers for the entire U.S. I mean, how many servers does World of Warcraft have for the U.S.? Granted, there's a lot more people, but how many servers did they have
just
at launch?
slightly more people. 10 million.
All right, better example, SOTOR doesn't have nowhere near as many players as WoW, but probably has about the same player base as SimCity. Had, I think, at least 15, 20 servers at launch. They should have
More
thought,
than that.
Yeah, they need, you start, it's always better to have more of something than less of something. If you have more servers than needed, you can downgrade the servers without any issue and just move people to different servers. But if you have less servers, then you have all these issues that we've been having with SimCity. 2, 3, 4, 5 hours or all day not being able to log in because you can't connect to the server, them getting rid of cheetah speed, which makes no goddamn sense to me. But I mean, it's better to prepare for something and it doesn't happen than not prepare for something and everything breaks.
Yeah, I agree up until I agree to everything except for one thing. When you said to have more than less, EA did more for SOTOR than they should have. I mean, they had way too many servers to begin with, and that's a really bad thing because I mean, people were sparsed out. The server population was horrible. That was one of the big issues. Was there was never anybody on to do anything. And like Zuki said, downgrading is bad press. If Testo released and then a month or 2 months later they announced that, hey, we're going to be eliminating 12 servers, that's going to look really bad to the public. That's going to sound like, holy crap, how many people did they just lose? Like, what's wrong with this game?
Well, that's a problem. They're going to kill themselves any way you looked at it. Either they were going to have too many servers, and in the long run, the communities were just going to die out because, I mean, I know I would have a third of people in my guild on Fleet, and that at prime time, you know, there'd be 80 people on Fleet, and a third of them would be in my guild. Like, what does that say for like recruiting and stuff like that? Like, that's really bad. Or the other way around, you know, you have too little, and the game is just like overwhelmed. And they wanted to avoid the press on one end, and they got it on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, regardless, a launch is kind of like a catch-22 regardless of whichever way you look at it for an online game. If you have but when you look at it, what's worse? Having a completely broken game that nobody can play, or having more servers than you need?
But the game physically isn't broken. The servers are.
Which in turn makes the game broken because nobody can play the game.
See, I'll argue that one only because the game itself is fully functional, except for the fact the servers suck. And it sucks because the game itself requires the servers, but I see the servers as an aspect of the game, not the game.
Fully functional to the point where if you lost connection, then you lost your city sometimes. You lost all that work that you put into it.
So, I mean, what's worse? That not being able to play the game and losing hours of work, or having to remove a couple servers because you over-anticipated how many people you were going to have? I personally would rather the bad press on downgrading servers for over-anticipation than having to revoke advertisements and stuff like that for my game.
Yeah, this is going to end up hurting EA more than it's going to help them in the long run. I mean, having to cancel their marketing stuff, but still pay out the commissions to the people doing it, having to give away a bunch of free games, having to disable parts of your biggest game, one of your biggest games of the year. I mean, this is... People are going to be a lot more wary of buying a game from EA, especially if it includes the always online DRM. And I don't care if you say it's the future or not, but it's broken the way that they're doing it now. The press that they had there from that, I mean, the fact that Amazon had to stop selling the game because it received over 1,500 one-star reviews in a 24-hour period, that's pathetic. That's going to hurt their image a lot more than saying, well, we're going to have to shut down a couple servers because we have too much and we want to maximize our cost. It's much better for them to be able to have to say that than for them to have to say, okay, you get a free game and you get a free game and you get a free game, and we're going to pay you for not selling the game because we can't actually sell the game because it doesn't work very well, and if they keep selling it, then the servers are going to keep crashing, and
Breathe, Gooey.
You need to stop selling this game. What?
Breathe.
I don't breathe. I know, but anyway.
Okay, so let's jump back on top and talk about the Testo beta. So we've seen games fail recently. We've seen games fail in the past. What do you guys think Testo can learn from these recent launches or previous launches? Like, what do you guys think that Testo should do in order to have a successful launch? Not that it's going to happen because no MMO launch is successful.
Well, first thing they need to do is after the closed beta testing where people with invites get in and they get to test certain things, they need to do a full-blown open beta for like a week or two. Allow the general public to come into the game, and test it out. Level up, do all the testing and stress test the servers and just about everything that they can stress test in the game to ensure that on launch the entire game is not completely broken.
What do you think, Gooey?
I think one thing they could do is actually do it the way that SWTOR did it, with the staggered release, the staggered launch. I think that it wasn't the smoothest launch, but when the people who bought it on launch day got it, it was a lot smoother than if you were to open the floodgates and let everyone in at once. I think mixing that with having a 2-week-long stress test, like Altair said, that would be really good.
I like that system too. I wasn't thrilled with it before, but having like, all right, pre-orders are open, and then how many early access days depends upon when you get it pre-ordered before. It helps a smooth transition into the game. They also should state ahead of time and say, we're going to increase, the amount of servers we bring up based upon how many people, but we have a plan in place saying that, if servers, I guess it's a mega server, so
There's still
what the fuck
servers.
am I talking about? Well, I mean, it really wouldn't matter how many servers they had,
Well,
They
it
could just
still
have
does.
tons of servers to support the game.
Yeah.
It fucks up my comment, but
I agree. Like, I mean, I think the biggest thing that any MMO should do, a month before release, do exactly what Altair said earlier, is do a full free-to-play open beta. 100%. Everybody that's a fanboy of the game is going to be jumping in at all times. Like, I mean, they're not going to wait for release to do it. They have this chance to do it now. And I think that would definitely stress test the servers more than saying, hey, we're going to open up the servers on the weekend to here's a beta key, specific number of beta keys. Just open it up. You have an account, come play.
Now, don't get me wrong. A closed beta to test certain aspects of a game is great, and it gives people that sense of pride that I was able to help test this game and perfect it and stuff like that. But they need that server stress test to see what the servers can handle, how many people it can handle before it goes completely berserk and blows up.
Yes, I agree. I mean, they need closed beta, but I'm talking like a month before release, when they actually have to test specifically server load. They know the game works. They have all the game features done. Let's test how the server's going to work with a load. Like, they can do it all they want with bots and clone machines and stuff like that, but that's not the same. It is not the same as having someone from around the world trying to connect to a game. There's so many different variables. Go ahead, Rapid. You look like you have this big serious thought.
No, I agree. Like, they should, like, a mock launch, basically. Like, just open the floodgates. Everybody tries to log in. I mean, hell, do it at like 6 p.m. or something. Like, after people get off from work, do it at midnight or something like that. Like, do it when the maximum amount of people are gonna go on. Let them, all try to log in at once and just test the servers, and you'll probably get a good idea of how many people are gonna purchase the game and actually come on launch day. And so you can get it's basically a practice round for them to see what screws up and what they need to fix, and because a smooth launch is really big for a game,
I would agree that a smooth launch is really big for a game, but I'm actually kind of shocked. I just looked at EA's stocks since SimCity came out, and it's at like a 5-year high right now. Even with the bad launch, they've only gone down about 10% from the time that SimCity launched, and that was still like 20 or 30 points higher than when the day before they launched it. So that's a little sidebar, but while it would help, I just want to see them actually put effort into it and test it like games used to be tested, not like now where it's just half-assed and okay, I think we're ready to go. Let's fly by the seat of our pants.
Well, they are. I mean, you may not like these weekend test things, but these weekend test things are an old style of beta testing. You test for the weekend, you gather your data, and you've got an entire week to go over that data and fix stuff. With like a continuous launch, like public relations beta test, people are constantly in the game, constantly doing stuff. It's really hard to assimilate all that information, and it's really hard to get people to test specific areas of the game, you know?
Yeah, like you need your closed beta. You need to have those closed betas where people are testing specific encounters or specific features or mechanics. But you also need to be able to open, like we all said, open the floodgates and get people in there. I mean, I honestly think the way Guild Wars did it, and Guild Wars is actually a pretty fluid game. They polished it off very well before they did it. But I think every beta event that they did was 100% a PR event. There was no beta actually in the game. It was PR. And I think a lot of games are doing that recently. Is PR, PR, PR. Let's get our name out there. Let's get people playing. Let's get our name there.
I don't know. PR was the last thing SWTOR needed. Like, they had the people, you know?
But they had the people based off a name. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all they needed. Like, start from the ground up. I mean,
that's what Tesso has. They have people
like,
based off a
attract
name.
people over time. If this game's good, you can be sure that I'm gonna tell, like, everybody that I know, like, this game rocks, you should come play it. Like, all my MMO friends, like, you should come play this game, it's awesome, it's better than WoW. Like, let the game speak for itself. Don't try to, like, have a massive launch into a shitty game.
No, I agree. Does anybody else have anything to say on this topic before we do our shameless plugs and close it up for the night?
No, I mean, as far as beta's concerned, I think we have all hit it on the head. They need to stress test everything, otherwise they'll have broken launches like SimCity did.
All right, let's close it up for the night. Couple things I want to say. I definitely want to thank Shadowmare again, shadowmare.com, for supporting Elder Scrolls Uncovered. This is episode 14. They've backed us pretty much from the beginning, so that's a phenomenal thank you for them. If anybody doesn't know, shadowmare.com is a ESO fan website. I think they're number 2 now in member base, only because Tamriel Foundry got 100 more members. So if you're interested in Elder Scrolls Online or looking for a guild or just want to chat up some peoples, hit up shadowmare.com. I also want to mention that we are one more Elder Scrolls Uncovered episode away from PAX. So I want to let everybody know that I'm going to be taking everybody's questions that they want answered with me to PAX, and I'm going to do my best to get an interview. Hopefully I can get an interview with one of the dev teams. Hopefully Matt Firo. That would be really awesome. And I want to take a list of your guys' questions with me, along with my own, because I have a feeling the people that are going to go are going to ask some really stupid questions that we all know the answers to, and we don't want to hear again. So I'm going to give you guys my Twitter account. Just tweet me your questions, and like I said, I'm going to write them down. I'm going to bring them with me. So let's open it up to Rapid for his shameless plug.
All right. Yeah, I'm Rapid. I am the guild leader of a guild called Midnight Reveries. We've been around for a long time. If you're interested in hardcore progression rating, you should definitely come check us out. We recently got a new website that launched today. I'm really proud of it, so you should also look at that. There's a link for that in the chat. And if you have any questions, just hit me up with a PM or an email on that website, and I'll try to answer them.
Shameless plug. Does anybody else have any shameless plugs?
You pretty much hit it on the head for us. I'm Altair. I'm an officer for the Clarion Call community. As you all are aware, one episode away from PAX, and me and Garb will be attending PAX East this year. We'll be doing everything we can to get in on the gameplay at PAX for Tesso, and trying to get interviews with the developers. And if we can get an interview with the developers, we'll see if we can record it, and then we will post it on our YouTube page. And if we can record any video of us playing the game, which I don't think we'll be able to, but if we can, we'll also record that. You can check us out at ccguild.ca, see any of the games that we play. We consider ourselves a mix between hardcore and casual. We are a community of people, not a community of players. We'd rather everybody have fun, get along and everything first, rather than being the absolute best in the world, while that is something we do like to try to obtain. So check us out, and be sure to check us out during the weekend of PAX East.
Guilo or Galeo.
Galeo, take Garbrac. I'm also part of Clarion Call. Altair pretty much said it all, and so did Garb, so I'm not going to bore you with the repeating, but I just want to let you know, CCGC is the one who first dubbed that link that I put in there was Midnight Reverie's battle song. Check it out. We were a funny group. I mean, we didn't make that, but we think of stuff like that all the time. And if you ask Garb nice enough, he has a really good Gangnam Style video. How's that for a shameless plug?
I have to find it. I'll find it. I'll put it in chat after the videos, after the stream. Yeah, that's about it, guys. I mean, it was great discussion. If anybody has any topics for next week or anything like that, just hit me up on Twitter. I'm always open for new topics. I mean, with PAX coming up, Elder Scrolls Online isn't releasing anything new, so we're basically scraping the bottom of the barrel here. We definitely don't want to keep repeating ourselves. I mean, it's no fun for us. It's no fun for you. So if you guys have any topics or anything like that, definitely hit me up on Twitter. I also want to do a question and answers video or stream. So if you guys want to tweet me your questions or anything like that, especially after PAX, because that's when you guys are going to have a lot more questions and I'm going to have a lot more answers. So just tweet me your questions, and like I said, I will answer them more than likely in a stream that will be done on a different day other than the day Elder Scrolls Uncovered is on. So I'm going to open the floor up again to Rapid to say goodnight, because he always says goodnight so nicely.
Good night.